What a good boy. What a good boy. What a good boy. It's just like Novak.
And Djokovic doing what Djokovic does. And he's hit some nice winners already there.
He's as good as Djokovic. Wow. That's Joker all
That's
the way.
good stuff. Good stuff.
He is good.
Go, young man. That's great.
Very good. Let me see if anybody's there. All right. Yeah, I'm a little cold. Let me take that presentation down. Djokovic won today, but I don't know how far he's going to go. All right, Brandon, I will. I will. I just took Lucky to that $439 or $35 later. I guess the good news is she said, let's see what we can do. And I didn't have to put him to sleep. But it's expensive at the end of their life, isn't it? But I'm glad for that. I'm glad for that. He just fell down in the kitchen. Let me just look to see if he wants to go outside. You want to go outside? You can go outside. Sorry about that. I don't want him to poop on the floor, but on the other hand, I guess he doesn't want to go outside. I think he's a little anxious. Are you all right? At least he's walking around. That's all I can say. Anyway, let's stop talking about my dog. Can you get off of the moose? Can you stop talking about the moose? All right. So earlier I got upset about GTII. I really don't want to talk about GTII anymore. I think partly what upsets me is other people are going to make the money, not you, not me. And that's just how I see it. Now, somebody said, I didn't notice it until I came back to come back on. Somebody said they didn't think Richard was one of the bad ones. And I didn't mean to imply that at all. I don't mean to imply that. But I do mean to say that when it goes to the legal side, lawyers get paid. And I don't know, I assume he's getting paid in cash, but he might be getting part of the, you know, the bounty. Hey, look, the system is set up that way, so there's nothing wrong with it. It's just, guys are going to make, I don't know. Let's say what I heard on the call was 250 million. Let's call it 200 million shares are clawed back times 5%. That's 10 million. 10 million out of, I don't know. Let's say there's 2.5 billion shares outstanding at the end of the day. It's not a huge amount, but 10 million divided by it's 0.004. Let's say the company is worth, I don't know, after all the machinations, let's say it's worth $500 million. I don't know. I mean, these are all just made up numbers. So the guy will get that. He'll make $2 million if those numbers materialize. But you won't even get, you might get $200 back. And that frustrates me. That makes me very frustrated. And then the criminals get off. They get their reverse split, so they can take 95% or more of the money that's sitting in the prime brokers' accounts. They can take that money. They can go live in the Cayman Islands or wherever they're living, and and the lawyers go along with this. I'm not talking about Richard Hoffman, but the lawyers go along with this because it's a lot of money for the lawyers. So it's a great gig for everybody except the retail investor, quite frankly. I'm having an orange because I didn't eat. I'm making a mess. All right, so we can talk about some other things. It is cold here, but it's not bad. It's all right. It's cold outside. Oh my God. That's terrible. That's painful. I'm sorry, Fernando. I'm sorry. That's really painful. Gronk. It's getting his okay, so before I got agitated, and I'm not enough of a shrink to figure out why I did, it just bugs me that just bugs me that everybody can come in at the end and they're going to make a lot of money. I mean, I guess they would argue, well, it's risky. Maybe we won't, but they end up better off. They're just spending some time, whereas you all spent, and I did, you spent your investable capital and it's gone. It frustrates me. All right, so I made a list of things to go over. It's hard to eat an orange without ham talking. because I'm the one talking. But I got to do something to get my energy up. So Ham was talking about finger, and there was something I wanted to talk about. Oh, Martin said that $1.50 is a floor on finger, and Ham said that as well. Martin Shen. I got to tell you, I'm not convinced with that. Now, I don't want to be negative on finger, and I'm not, but I think I have to tell you what risks I see, and it frustrates me. Now, it doesn't mean that these risks are permanent. It doesn't mean these risks are fatal, but it does mean let's keep our eyes open. I think that financing with Roth Capital is by no means assured to be safe financing. Roth has not come in to support the stock price. Now, you can argue, as I would, that the Christmas week holiday, the New Year's week holiday, the Jimmy Carter week holiday, this week is in between the Martin Luther King, Donald Trump holiday. So you could argue there's a whole bunch of weeks here that is catching Roth Capital flat-footed. But I told you that I felt that we would see the mettle of Roth Capital by how they supported the stock. To my eyes, they haven't supported it at all. And is that premature? Sure, could be. And they still owe a research report. Could that be supportive? Absolutely. But I think, to me, finger motion looks like it is going to go under $1, however briefly. That's what the criminals are trying to do. I do think buying will come in, but the buying will be predicated on the research report, how strongly Roth Capital supports the stock, and what the earnings say. And that's this week, probably. That's this week. I don't expect earnings this week to be rip-roaring. In fact, I expect it to be more of the same, like a big thud. What does that say? What happened? Why? Because that's kind of what Martin's guided us to in the last two interviews. Fourth quarter earnings, I think, are going to be impressive. Potentially. I mean, we don't know for sure, but potentially. So I just think we have to be aware of that. And when I say it can go under $1, it's only 10% away. That's not a big brave call on my part. If it goes down 10 or 15%, it's under $1. They sell constantly. And to me, they is Jeff Easton's clients and the group of men, if you can call them men, out of Burroughs Park, New York, that work as a bunch of coded names. And, they're similar to the Nigerians on emails, sending out blast emails. They just have a goal to steal money, and they feel good about it. I don't know how, but they do. The world isn't we've been very lucky in North America to grow up in a country that largely, up until recently, has been devoid of system-wide corruption and security risk, but it's changing very rapidly. But the rest of the world and all of human history, very dangerous. Who said life is brutish and short? John Mills? I can't remember. John Stuart Mills. But the main thing I'm worried about with finger motion, and I'd be blunt about it, and I've asked around, the offering was approximately 3 million shares, 3.6 million, something, $5 million at $1.50 in shares. And then it was another essentially $7.5 million worth. That's the wrong way to look at it. I can't remember the number of shares. It was something like, well, we can figure it out. 5 million divided by 1.5. So it's 3.3 million shares. And then they authorized warrants at 1.5 times that. So every share, that's another 5 million shares. So they have warrants out there. And let me be very clear. I believe there is an above average risk, an almost certain risk that those warrants were issued at $1.5, 5 million of them, to protect the criminal shorting of the stock, both by Jeff Easton's up to 4 hedge funds and all of these Burroughs Park boys that do it as tag-alongs and paid off to do it. Now, it is my opinion, you say, well, all right, that's just 5 million. Well, they can hypothecate and rehypothecate that over and over again because Ann Wagner simply could not care less. Adina Friedman, between her nail appointments and her self-bragging speeches, she could not care less. She giggles every time she cashes $2.5 million monthly. Obviously, Gary Gensler doesn't care. Robert Cook doesn't care. Nobody cares. So this crime goes on, and if I bring it up, that I notice a pattern, you're being racist or anti-religionist or something. It's all crap to get us distracted with our emotions. The fact is, a small group of men have set about incrementally expanding and expanding and expanding and expanding their crime so that the money that comes out is in the trillions of dollars overall. And it can absorb some losses, but it corrupts everybody. So what do I think's happening with that 5 million shares of warrants? I think it's used to show the prime broker, hey, if you let us sell this stock in violation of Reg Show, please know that we have the protection of these 5 million warrants. We can call at any time. So if we sell through you and our LLC, Jeff Easton is the greatest plus opportunity plus fund 1 LLC, we've got it capped off at 5 million. So the the prime broker says, great, good, go to town. So that LLC sells through Bear Stearns. Bear Stearns doesn't exist anymore, but Bear Stearns used to be the place. So they sell through Bear Stearns. The next LLC, that Jeff Easton is the greatest Opportunity Plus Fund 2 LLC, calls up their prime broker, and it's I don't know. I can't think of any names. It's Alex Brown is their prime broker. Doesn't exist anymore. So Alex Brown says, fine, you can short up to 5 million. And then they set up the Jeff Easton is the greatest Opportunity Plus Fund 3. And they go to another prime broker. Let's say it's Alpine. And they say, Alpine, we have this protection for 5 million shares. They say, okay, go ahead with it. They have that protection. And so that's the third LLC. They set up the Jeff Easton is the greatest Opportunity Fund 4. And they go through Goldman Sachs prime brokerage. All right, there's 5 million. You can see I can go on and on with this, but that same document expands how many shares they can sell. It is my contention that once that box is checked, they actually want, and they keep the price down, they actually sell more than that 5 million, because that 5 million gets sold into, let's say the Jeff Easton is the greatest Opportunity Plus 3 fund, sells it to the Burroughs Park Bully Everyone Online Opportunity Fund 1. Well, that Burroughs Park Fund 1 is now long those shares. That fund can lend them out because nobody's checking this crap. And they lend it out to the Burroughs Park We Screw Anybody who doesn't go to our steam room club. What do you call that? Gymnasium club. And Opportunity Fund 1. And then that one does it. They expand 5 million shares, in my opinion, using offshore, using gimmicks, lying. Lawyers look the other way. Compliance looks the other way. Once they have that 5 million shares protection, remember, our brokerage system is set up to imitate our commercial bank system. This is my idea. I haven't read it anywhere, but I think I'm 100% correct. They are trying to take the same theory that if you put $1,000 in Chase Manhattan can lend out 10,000. That's just banking. That's fractional reserve banking. And in fact, $1,000 is probably lent out at $100,000. It's probably 99 to 1 when you really examine it. But that's what they're doing with securities. And so you give them that 5,000, my opinion, that 5,000 could go to 100 to 1. So what is that? That's 500,000 shares they can sell. Sorry, 5 million. Sorry, it was 5 million shares. So it goes to 500 million shares they can sell. And now I can't explain all the ways they do it, but I don't meet with them at the sauna at the, Brooklyn Steam Gymnasium. I don't meet with them at the deli outside of one of their places of gathering on Saturday. I don't know exactly how, because they know if I were included, I'd be Serpico. I would be Deep Throat. I would actually probably stand out right in the open and challenge them all. They know not to trust me. So, how do I summarize this thing I'm telling you? I think the financing with Roth Capital is toxic. Am I sure of that? No, I'm not sure of that. But I think the financing with Roth Capital should be bought back, or they need to demand of Roth Capital, who did you sell those shares to? Who did you sell those shares to? Now, on the positive side, what will kill all of that is if finger motion can race forward to revenues, cash flow, and earnings, it's not going to matter. They'll get in trouble. But yeah, I just think it's a Sisyphean job, and I would be very careful counting on Roth Capital's financing as being honest. Now, I may or may not be saying something bad about Roth Capital. I don't know. But when you have a system where Ann Wagner reads into the congressional record what a Goldman Sachs lobbyist gave her to read, and she's the overseer, when you have Gary Gensler doing his lying dance in front of Congress, when you have Adina Friedman, silly Adina Friedman, who just does not care what happens to her companies, because she's a powerful woman. I'm a woman and I'm powerful. Well, please, you can see what this promoting people simply because they have a vagina is doing to our world. Now, I will admit, there's men that get ahead simply because their father had some relation, or simply because the man played football. I mean, it happens in all scenarios. But let's not get overly enamored that somehow women can come into leadership positions with no training, no experience, and do a good job. Adina Friedman is a case in point. She's probably put there to protect her overlords at Carlyle Group. No one knows for sure. But anyway, that's what I wanted to say about Finger. Oh, I wanted to, maybe we can, there's no real reason to go over that again, but I think there are some stocks to buy, before you put money in GTII, or I don't know what to say about Finger. I think Finger probably is a 50-50 chance that Roth turns out to, no. I'd say there's a 25% chance that Roth turns out to be a good Nick. I think Roth is just a pass through to the bad guys right now. That's my opinion. Prove me wrong, and I'll tell you I was wrong. But anyway, there are stocks I would buy. I would still buy RLAIF. It's taken longer to break out than I thought. So, maybe temper your enthusiasm. But I think Railtown AI, we've gone through the presentation. We've gone through the news releases. It's moved from an R&D to a powerful AI product that on the surface seems to revolutionize its marketplace. It is run by a couple of guys, one in particular who has built companies before and sold them. And so I like RLAIF. I still like NIXX, and the longer we get away from tax loss season, the more I like NIXS. But it's got, look, I think NIXX has to perform on what they've announced because it's got a pretty high market cap if it just is only going to be just got to have it. But their announcements are they're going to do other things. So there's a bit of execution risk, but I still like Nixie. And next trip, I want to talk to the guys, NTRP, $8. I think that stock has a great idea. We should go through the presentation maybe. I don't know about tonight, but maybe we should. And then, of course, there's the ZJYL, GDC, and now Ham has added MLSS and GBUX, GBUX. These all could be worth a sprinkle. I wouldn't bet everything on them. And I want to re-emphasize to everyone, as you make money, or even if you have new money, in my judgment, the single best short squeeze play you can make and the single best investment you can make for just out of this world returns is something that's been around for 5,000 years and probably longer. And it's called silver. Just buy silver. All right, I'm going to eat one of these. Okay, the other thing I wrote down is this gold company that a lot of you bought. And I have probably half a dozen people who still want to get into it. Once the final financing money comes in, I will push that handful of people. I'll ask and I'll see if I can get a positive answer for that additional investment. But it is my judgment that financing is about to be completed. I can't promise until it's here. Once that happens, I'd like to arrange to have a call with all of you. What I may do is take a friend of mine from New York who's invested in it, and we may fly out to Las Vegas and then to I don't know, whatever county it is. I can remember. Might be Esmeralda County. I can't. But anyway, we'll fly out to the site, and maybe I can do a visual, maybe an interview or two or whatever. But I'd like to give you an update on that soon, and I think it will be soon. There's a lot of danger. I too like to live dangerously. There's a lot of danger in the bond market. China's economy seems, and I don't know whose input to trust, but China's economy seems to be imploding. Their real estate, some of their other investments, even to such a point that structure of the Communist Party on top doing the planning and capitalism below, the government might be at threat, or at least that party might be at threat. We'll find out. But there's this trend in China where interest rates are going down and the currency is under a little bit of pressure. But offsetting that, you're seeing interest rates, and again, I need to read more research from places I trust, but you're seeing interest rates going up in the UK. You're seeing the currency, the pound, collapse. You're seeing interest rates go up here in the United States for mortgages and the bond, the longer term bond. Interest rates are up, but the Fed just lowered rates. So you're wondering what's going on. I'll tell you my guess, but it's purely a guess. The bond market is bigger than the stock market by a factor of gigantic. And if the bond market goes against the Fed and the bond market collapses, I'm talking about prices, you can kiss the stock market goodbye. But I think the Fed is going to start buying everything it can in the bond market. I may be premature, but I think they're going to try to drive interest rates down to China levels, even though we just had a huge employment print, which was probably fake to disguise. Remember, I got to find the interview. It was by a PhD woman, and she was either reading her own study or someone's study that she participated in. But they did interviews of men on campus, I guess professors, but it might have been students. I'll try to find it. I listened to it late at night. And men in general value truth, number one, not politics, not feelings, not trying for equity, not trying to right past imbalances. Men, the single number one answer was find the truth. When they interviewed female professors and students, truth came in number 3. Number 1 was it's complicated. It's complicated. Now, which is better? I have no idea, because men will take searching for the truth to fisticuffs and anger and fighting. And if you imagine us back in, if it's a true analogy, that we used to live in caves, and that's how we started, fighting and getting into fights was a existential threat to the group around the campfire. That was bad news. So women evolved realizing that searching for the truth and fighting, that wasn't always going to be the right way to go. Women, maybe, I don't know, developed over eons that making sure all parties felt included, that there was some sort of equity, kept the peace, that kept their children safer, that kept the little group working together to forge for food and fight off the saber-toothed tiger. I'm not saying which is right or better. I'm not giving it a value judgment. I'm just saying men and women it's a bell curve. In the middle of it, it is my theory, and elk which is to say it is all mine. The dinosaur is thin at one end, much, much bigger in the middle, and thin again at the other end. A bell curve. The preponderance of men think that way, and the preponderance of women think that way. Is it, which one's right? I have no idea. But when it comes to our regulators and our markets, it's an interesting question. What is the direction when the Treasury or the Fed is run by a woman versus a man? I don't know. I just try to put it out there that goals get skewed by who's making them. And I don't know what's the right answer. We just have to anticipate what's coming. And the bond market, I believe, will be bought by the Fed. They will try to get interest rates down. They will try to get the dollar down. Trump will call for lower interest rates. But will it work? Inflation is high. Employment, I know why I got off on that riff. Employment was reported as high because I believe the women that run our administration want to burnish Joe Biden's record. Whether it's true or not, they want it to be able to say that he left office with a lot of jobs. Just like the women behind Judge Mersham want to be able to say, and I include in women the men who the simps who go along with all of that. They want Trump to be a felon. How do you make Trump a felon? It was one entry on a obscure document written by the accountant, and it said legal expense. And that's a misdemeanor. And it's a state crime, not federal. And the statute of limitations expired. So the women in New York and the simps passed a law to make 1 year window to bring this charge. And then they turned it into 34 felonies. Again, it's not about truth. It's about revenge for the fact that Billy Bush caught him saying, yeah, when you're tall, good looking, the cameras follow you everywhere, and you're a billionaire, they let you grab them by the, private parts. But that pissed off a lot of women. I don't blame them. It's a disgusting thing to just put out there. But those women aren't upset with Biden, who violated Tara Reid when he was a senator. According to Tara Reid and to Tara Reid's mother. But those women you don't believe, but you believe, I don't know, it gets all confusing. But so I don't trust, bottom line, I don't trust the data of the employment, the record high to employment. I don't trust the data because it's complicated. The ends justify the means. So anyway, the bond market may get out of control, but I think that the Fed is going to get it under control. I hope I'm right, because I still think the stock market is going to go up 50% from here, 30% from here, 25% from here. And it's going to do it all in a matter of weeks or months, and then it's all over. In that time frame, I think silver will go to $100. Then there'll be corrections, but after that, I think silver could go to $1,000. Silver could go to par with gold. So I think silver is your best. If you want to just get away from Jeff Easton and the Kramers and Ari Rubinstein and so on, just buy silver. Okay, somebody asked me about MMTLP here. I lost the question. And let me see if I remember what it said. Something about a dividend. Do you think there could be a dividend from Nextbridge, which will catch out something? I do not think Nextbridge should pay any cash as a dividend, nor do I think Nextbridge should get involved in any highly expensive legal documents to create, some sort of gotcha dividend while Nextbridge doesn't trade. It's a private company. So I would say no, I don't think there'll be a dividend. I also think Nextbridge should not listen to Johnny Tobacco. I'm not saying anything bad about the guy, don't know him. But Nextbridge should not trade on blockchain. It's my opinion. Why? Because I think the criminals know how to create derivatives and know how to create offshore transactions in literally in the trillions of dollars. And that, what leverage was it? Archimedes, who was it in ancient Greece, who said if you had a big enough lever, you could move the earth. If you have leverage and you have a big enough derivative lever, you can change the price of a stock. And it doesn't matter that you can track every price of the blockchain. What matters is the derivatives are driving the price. And people don't get that. And you don't know that Johnny Reb doesn't work for the shorts. He's up there in that milieu. Just stay private, Nextbridge. Just stay private. But the other thing I wanted to point out to you specifically about MMTLP and Nextbridge is apparently Fidelity. And you can get a lot of great information listening to Junk Savvy's space calls. She has them every day. Well, maybe twice a week now. She used to do them every day. 10 a.m. on Twitter. Junk Savvy, she's amazing. She absorbs, analyzes, and represents volumes of information. She not only does it well, she does it correctly. She describes the situation. She describes it without fear. She's not afraid to call it as it is. And her clarity and her willingness, her fearlessness to state the cold truth is admirable. Anyway, she pointed out that Fidelity has reported on, is it 1099s? I guess it's the 1099s for their clients' accounts, that they distributed Nextbridge to these accounts So it's a taxable event, or it's something that is recorded for IRS purposes. Well, she points out the fact is they don't have all those shares. So they're committing fraud with the IRS, which is a whole different thing than Adina Friedman and Ann Wagner and Goober Gensler. That's a whole different kettle of fish. They also are committing wire fraud on a massive scale. So that's an interesting, very interesting aspect. And I would tune into her for more information there. I was talking to somebody close to the MMTLP/Nextbridge situation. And that person pointed out to me something that I think people need to bear in mind. For those of you who have not moved your MMTLP, or the brokerage firms have started calling it in your account Nextbridge, it's the same thing. They're just placeholders. You need to move those placeholders over to the physical shares, whether you get them at home or they're at the transfer agent of Nextbridge. I wouldn't be surprised that there's still 30 million shares or more, maybe 40 million shares still available that you can go claim. It weakens your case. It does not strengthen your case, in my opinion, if you're trying to get damages that you don't ask to move. There's a train of thought out there, well, if I move, then Wall Street doesn't owe me anything. Yeah, no, that's not true. But because there's pain and suffering, there's the fact they took away some trading, and all of the damages that of what could have been without this destruction, that's all still out there. But I would argue if you do not move your shares, the other side, clever lawyers, well paid for lawyers, will say, well, you forfeited your right. You never asked. Our client, the brokerage firm, the broker dealer, could have given you the shares, but you waited so long. So I think you got to move. But anyway, what this person was indicating to me, which you've got to be aware of, when I say there might be 30 million, 40 million shares still out there, maybe more, I don't know. They're not, you don't have access. It depends on where your broker dealer is. So if your broker dealer is Fidelity, which I understand has reached its limit because they have this blob of street name shares, this monolithical block, but they like a Euro grill and you get the platter, they shave it off and then all the lamb and beef is gone and there's nothing left. They don't have anything left at Fidelity, as I understand it. So if you're at Fidelity, it doesn't matter that there's so many extra shares out in the system. Fidelity ran out. That's what I understand. Nobody knows for sure. So don't leave it until too late. And then I didn't write down, I put it away. Maybe it's here. I always tell you. That I lost it. My predictions. Oh, here. These are my, I'm going to be probably slightly wrong. But Wall Street climbs a wall of worry. That's what we were taught. So everybody out there is talking about, like I just did, how bad the bond market is, war, currency collapse, China's in trouble, et cetera, et cetera. To me, that's a good time to be contrarian for a trade. I'm not talking about get in there and don't be ready to dance and get out quickly. But I think the S&P I'm gonna write this down so I get it correct. I think the S&P could go to 8,000. I think the Nasdaq could go to 30,000. I think the Dow could go to 60,000, and I think the Russell could go to 4,000 in a blow off top, a blow off top. And then it's over. So I wanted to tell you that. But as I'm telling you that, I want to also suggest that you don't wait for the very, very top. This, if it's any time in your life, if I'm correct that there, and I think silver goes to 100, I think gold could go to, I don't know, 4,000 or better. Let's say by May, sell in May and go away. That's why I picked May. Let's say by May, all of this could happen. I mean, it could take longer. Well, if you wait for the last minute, there's an expression that I forget how it goes. The stock market climbs the stairs when it goes up, and it falls through the elevator shaft on the way down, or some stupid thing like that. But that's right. And none of you, if you're young, have seen it. But stocks go down very quickly. My theory is it's because they've already been there. People can perceive that Tesla at 130 could go to 30. Now, I think, not Tesla, NVIDIA. I think NVIDIA can go higher. I mean, I think all these glorious stock, everything is going to go higher as these people who manage your funds pile back in to not miss out. But what I'm saying is, do not try to capture. Let me pick one. Let's say the Russell does go to 4,000 or just heads in that direction. Don't wait for that. Maybe as soon as it gets to 3,000, get out. That's when I would start looking to buy puts. I think Bank of America is the largest bank out there at risk. I hear about Bank of America being short 1 billion ounces of silver. I also hear about Bank of America being in trouble in its real estate loans. But I think Wells Fargo could be in trouble. I think they're all going to be in trouble. But Wells Fargo is another one. You can probably pick almost any bank. JP Morgan is supposedly the most at risk for a silver squeeze. On the other hand, I think Jamie Dimon has bought a lot of silver, so I don't know how that all nets out. But you could buy puts on Bank of America. You could buy puts on the Nifty 7. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. When it runs up, if it does, that's an opportunity just to buy 3 puts on Citibank or whatever the hell and see what happens. Okay, the final thing I just want to talk about without anybody's input is what just happened in California. Do you think that was a forest fire? I don't think so. I think what happened in California was pre-planned. I think it's possible that those fires were set in an agenda. Is it a foreign powers agenda, Or could it be the climate change agenda? Could it be the ends justify the means? I predicted before it came out, but apparently Governor Newsom is saying that we're going to build it back better, LA 2.0. Well, I predicted before he came out that you're going to hear about BlackRock will buy up everything, and it'll be condominiums, and it'll be walkable neighborhoods, and everything will be electric. It'll, it's going to be green. My opinion, Donald Trump should declare the whole area a national park and tell California to go screw itself. They manipulated 3 or 4 seats to the House of Representatives, but that's just my opinion. That would be green. Let it go back to nature. I think it's the beginning of a huge readjustment in real estate values in California. I do think the real estate around the fires is going to go up because people with money are going to say, I want to live there, I'll pay anything. But after all of that is sold, I think the real estate a little further out is going to collapse. I think real estate in places like Pahrump and Las Vegas and Phoenix, these things are going to go up, I think, as people leave. But the reason I think it's going to be deathly for California real estate is insurance, taxes, regulations. I think people are going to flee California and all of that. And so it's going to be a self-fulfilling loop. And could it be what triggers the real estate crash? I don't know. But it's going to put a lot of pressure on money supply, as right now you've got a lot of mortgages out there with no collateral. What happens to that money? It disappears. And the money it supported disappears. And all the leverage that was out there disappears. This is tremendously deflationary, potentially. That's why I think the Fed's going to come in and print money. And probably Trump will come in and build Trumplandia. Right down, he'll put a big T, California T, in the middle of the mountains all the way down to the sea, and he'll rebuild it better. It's going to be beautiful. Nobody's going to ever have seen anything as beautiful. It's going to be beautiful. All right, I'm going to read one thing. I'll read it quickly to you, which is going to contradict a lot of what I said, I think. And then we'll talk. All right, this is Jim Rickards in the Daily Reckoning, January 9th. Positioned for a historic crash. And I agree with him on this. I just think first, a little Chi-Chi. Donald Trump's victory in the election was officially certified. Kamala Harris presided. Democrats set aside some members' view that Trump is ineligible. The voice of the American people was heard loud and clear in the Democratic circles. because of Trump's electoral landslide, his 7 swing state victory, and his popular vote victory, Democrats don't want to question it. That's given Trump a mandate for change. However, Wall Street has challenging times ahead. The Santa Claus rally did not materialize, which was a surprise. Since the beginning of December, stocks of all sizes have struggled, apart from shares of a few mega cap companies who dominate the market. With the election in the rearview mirror and Donald Trump set to take office next week, a meltdown is still a threat to the market. So you see, this is an opposing point of view to mine. Here are the 3 threats to the market as we head into 2021. 1, a market melt up. That's me. Markets are at or near all-time highs based on every available metric. PE ratios, cap ratio. I can't think of what that stands for. Let me look it up. The cyclically adjusted price to earnings. It adjusts earnings. It's an earnings ratio just for 10 years. We never used that, but it's a way of smoothing things out. It sounds good. Market cap to GDP ratio, concentration, etc. These all-time highs are accompanied by the fact that everyone indexes, investors are complacent, and analysts are euphoric. When such conditions have existed in the past, they've always been followed by market crashes of 50 to 90%. That's my number. I say after we go up, we're going down 90%. That's my number. Unfolding over several years. Examples include Dow Jones 1929, the Nikkei in 1989, NASDAQ in the year 2000, and the S&P 500 in 2008. We are now positioned for an historic crash. The specific cause does not matter. It could be war, natural disaster, a bank or hedge fund collapse, or a directed weapon fire event in our nation's largest city. What matters is the super fragility of the market when the trigger is pulled. This is why Warren Buffett has cash and why central banks are buying gold. You'll notice about central banks, they're buying gold. They're not buying Bitcoin. Prepare now. Do not be the last one to know. The second risk, a U.S. recession is coming. I think we're already in one. There are ample, and I think we're in a depression. There are ample signs that the economy is headed for a recession or may already be in one, including higher unemployment, lower interest rates, flattening yield curves, negative swap spreads, collateral shortages in euro-dollar markets, reductions in China's reserve positions, which in his opinion, Jim Rickard's opinion, is not a sign of dumping treasuries, but a sign of the US dollar being short in China, a shortage of US dollars, and the need to provide liquidity to Chinese banks, and declining oil prices and others. The emerging recession will cause a stock market drawdown as earnings are revised downward, consumer confidence crumbles, consumer discretionary spending hits a wall, and precautionary savings rise. The world will not bail out the US economy because we're a bunch of liars. Because China, Japan, Germany, and the UK also are slowing economically. This is problematic. So he wants to talk about low rates. Low rates are not stimulus. Low rates are associated with recessions and depressions, and they are not the sign of a thriving economy. The Fed is not leading the rate market. I agree with that. You're about to find out the Fed doesn't control anything other than the overnight interest rate. They are following the market down. Of course, a recession could trigger a market crash, but even if it does not, recessions are typically associated with 30% declines in stock market valuations over a year or less. You guys have never experienced that. 3, the other risk, the last risk, currency wars are back and trade wars are coming. The super strong dollar today, use the super strong dollar to buy silver, to buy gold. Maybe, if you can, you buy the ruble. I don't think we're allowed to in the United States. Maybe if you can, you go buy the yuan. I'm not as keen on that, but maybe some other Southeast Asian currencies. But maybe don't buy the currencies. Maybe go buy an apartment in Moscow or a condo in Kuala Lumpur, or a vineyard in Turkey, or a rubber plantation in Thailand, or I don't know. Use things you know how to do. That use the super strong dollar today. Eventually, people aren't going to want our dollar as it exists right now. And I think Trump realizes that. His idea of Greenland, even Canada, the Panama Canal, I don't think matters much. No one uses it. China's building a canal through Nicaragua. But these are big strategies to use our dollar while it has value to create the basis for our economy to remain strong. This is what big stocks do. Big companies like Amazon and Microsoft and I suppose NVIDIA, they can use their big valuation to acquire companies with their stock. But when the Kramers and the Rubensteins and the Eastons crush small market stocks in a scheme, they're not able to do that. But anyway, you as your own central bank can use the strong dollar today to buy silver, gold, land, art. It's up to you. Cash flowing real estate in desirable countries. Anyway, the super strong dollar today makes it difficult for other countries to buy U.S. goods. Tariffs will make it worse. Both the strong dollar and tariffs invite retaliation. Here's the dollar index. The result could be a global contraction in trade, which would resemble the trade collapse of the Great Depression. U.S. stocks fell 85% from October 1929 to June 1932. During that episode of trade wars, a repeat could be on the way. The economy does what it wants. Business cycles have not been erased. The U.S. economy does not pay much attention to new administrations. It moves to its own rhythm. Biden isn't done yet. Don't underestimate what the women in the Biden administration do as they exit the White House. Samantha Powers, I guess, and Anthony Blinken, you can call him a man, I guess. They can do a lot of damage before Monday. Biden and his women are trying to Trump-proof the presidency by signing contracts. Remember the famous Orwellianly named Inflation Reduction Act? The act actually increased inflation by sponsoring the Green New Initiative, the New Green Initiative. There was about $1 trillion for garbage, in his opinion, like windmills, solar modules, and etc. A lot of the money went to Democrats, contractors, and EVMs. Most of the money hasn't been spent yet. So now there's a mad scramble to give it to Black Lives Matter, Kamala Harris's donors, etc. You can't spend the money that fast, but you can sign a contract that has a 5-year life and spend it over that time frame. So there's a lot of that happening. The money can be contractually bound and Trump can't get it back. Bind the spending so Trump can't do anything about it. After taking office, Trump's agenda will give incentive to billions of dollars of investments in U.S. energy and manufacturing. He will make domestic oil drilling and refining a priority. But there are plenty of minefields for the markets to deal with in the first year. All right. I went through everything I wanted to. Let me see what you guys are saying. I'll go from the bottom up, which means it'll seem out of context. Marty, the way you can close MMTLP personally, move your MMTLP to Nextbridge. I don't know what you mean by closure, but here's what Wall Street owes you, Marty. They owe you 1 share of Nextbridge for 1 share of MMTLP. It's out there for free right now. You can go do it for the cost of 2 FedEx shipments and 6 weeks of time. Wall Street will give you that unless you're at a brokerage firm that has already given out their entire allotment. So it's on you to come to your own personal closure in MMTLP. There will never, ever be 2 days of trading. There will never be, with one exception, there will never be a massive congressionally mandated or legally won settlement that gives you a huge payout. Never, with one exception, if they can discover fraud or violation. And that's what all these people in the community are working so hard to have happen. But nobody, Marty, nobody in Congress, no judge is going to see your situation and say, Marty deserves $2,000 a share. They're not even going to say Marty deserves $100 a share. Unless Nextbridge is worth $100 a share. But even then, 2.5 years have gone by. And if you don't ask to switch, they're going to say, well, we don't know Marty anything. He never asked. We could have done it all day long for 2.5 years. So you can get closure in your own situation. If you don't want it to close, that's your own opinion. That's your own decision. If you don't want to get antibiotics to stop your pneumonia, that's up to you. If you don't want to get a Band-Aid to stop the bleeding on your finger, that's up to you. If you don't want closure for your own MMTLP situation, it's all in your hands. Move MMTLP to Nextbridge, and you've got your closure. Don't sit around being a victim. And you won't miss out. Don't listen to Double D. Those guys are all there they're the devil. Don't you listen to them, Dan. They're the devil, not a man. And he fills the burning sands with water, cool, clear water. They're just there to confuse you and delay you. It's very simple. MMTLP is very simple. There's two aspects to it. Leaving out that it shouldn't have been created probably, but that doesn't matter. It was by NASDAQ, by FINRA, by SEC. It was created. Your broker-dealer entered into chronic, but there's only two aspects to MMTLP. One, they took away 2 days of trading. And there could have been, it's not provable, but it looks like there was one started. There could have been a short squeeze. And that should not have been taken away from you. Should not have been. But where is that right now? There's no buy-in because of that. There's no trading because of that. There's no financial market solution to that issue. It's with the courts. It's with Congress. They will not give you $2,000 a share. They probably won't give you $2,400 a share. They'll make sure the lawyers get paid. They'll make sure the lobbyists get paid. They'll make sure all in a sundry get paid, but they're not going to give you that unless there's fraud found. And then there'll be class action suits that are out the wazoo because the lawyers running those class action suits will end up richer than Peter Angelos. You won't necessarily get rich, but you might have a nice payday. But it's a long way away. But it's possible. But the thing is, Marty, it will happen whether you just stubbornly listen to Double D and ask me if MMTLP will get closure and you stay with MMTLP, or if you go to Nextbridge, you're going to get that settlement. You're going to get a piece of that pie. So move it. Help Greg McCabe out. Help Nextbridge become a real company. But no, there's not going to be closure down the path you're seeking in any time frame that you're happy with. The only thing that can change everything is if you, I'm going to open my back door because I think my dog needs to go outside. If you move to Nextbridge, I think you can make a lot of money in Nextbridge. Maybe. Let me open the back door. Come on. You can go out there. You're good. I think he picked up on my tension as I went to the vet because I didn't know if she was going to tell me I had to put him down or not. But he didn't poop, so I think he has to poop. Go ahead. Go outside and poop. I give you permission. All right, so my answer is you'll never see what you call closure in MMTLP. The way you can personally take control of your own closure is move your shares to Nextbridge. You will not miss out on any dream of a class action suit that West Christian runs, or if Fidelity is found to commit fraud, or if FINRA, for their own profit, violated rules itself, there could be a massive class action settlement. It'll take 7 years. 30-40% will go to the lawyers. There'll be expenses. Every other lawyer involved will put in his or her fees. You'll be lucky to get 25% of the settlement, and it'll be divided out, and it'll be 8 years from now. Move to Nextbridge, and then you have closure. What you're crying about, I didn't get to have a short squeeze. Well, you're not going to miss out on damages that are owed to you if you move over to Nextbridge on that issue, but it has to go through court and Congress. I give it a very small chance of any meaningful success on that. No one's going to give out huge gains to speculators. It's a good company. There's risks, but move it over. It's at least you're getting your shares. That's all Wall Street owes you, is the shares. Maybe you don't like it, but that's all they owe you. Wall Street owes you 1 share of Nextbridge for 1 share of MMTLP. That's closure. Go do it yourself. And you can take care of that in 6 weeks. And you will see closure. And then sit back and let the class action suits happen. No attorney's going to work for free. They don't. No attorney is going to come rescue Marty Nowak. It's going to be class action. You can't control that anyway. All you can control, turn your 10,000 shares of worthless placeholder into 10,000 real shares in Nextbridge. Well, I talked to somebody about that who I trusted. I got to remember what was said. Here's what I asked Pete. I asked, can I go close that door? Did you poop? No? You didn't? You're a good boy. You're a very expensive boy. Now I'm going to spend my $5,000 or $6,000 before you die. Also, I know I let you live as long as you wanted, so you can walk around in circles. I know. You're a good guy. I know. I'll keep you alive. I will. Anyway, what I asked is, could Greg go into court and put a placeholder or a ring, a fence around those assets as long as there's litigation that he's pursuing, so that nobody else comes in and bids on those lands. And I got an interesting answer, which I'd never thought of. But it's highly unlikely that university lands, they're scared of their own shadow. I believe that the people at university lands were threatened into the actions they took. So that's tortious interference by the Borough Park boys and their allies over in Jersey. But remember, anything they do is good, because they're better than you and I. They're just thieves. I wonder if they're taught that we're all God's children, or if they're taught that they are a special brand of God's children. They deserve this. I don't know. But it's this group of guys doing this. And I think they may work with some of the people in the so-called community. I really don't trust much around, because there's so many coincidences, and everything always ends up to the benefit of the criminals. So I only trust a handful of people. So that probably makes me an asshole, I guess. But anyway, the point was made, Pete, that it's highly unlikely that these fraidy cats at university lands would ever put it out to lease again while this much contention is going on. So I thought that was an interesting point, and it works in our favor. I do think, Pete, the Nextbridge people, other than the fact that he had a data room, or maybe he didn't have a data room, but he certainly presented this. I wasn't there, but he presented this opportunity at NAPE. I don't know how detailed the information was that he gave away, but there may be competitors out there that saw his story, even though they signed an NDA with him and a non-compete. You got to have money to defend those. And but that's life. In business, you have to trust the people you're doing business with. And every now and then you meet a guy from Borough Park. Of course, they don't work alone. They work in packs to reinforce their cult of superiority. I think the thing that Nextbridge has, they have the 3D seismic. They have the results of the drilling they've already done. Remember, they didn't produce. Everybody wanted him to produce out of those wells. If he had produced out of those wells, the results would be available to everybody on the Texas oil and gas website. They're not. So it's very smart. So he has the data. He has the original geologist. and he knows where the sweet spots are. Hopefully he can get it all back, but worst case, he can get back, everything in life pretty much can be divided by the 80-20 rule. So he can probably get 20% of that acreage back and get 80% of the benefit. I'm very optimistic he can do that. But I also point out, Pete, the assets that he has accumulated in this so-called Louisiana historic trend, these are the shallow waters and beaches of the Cambrian and the Permian, when the brontosaurus ate the trees and left behind mounds of processed sunlight and fiber that turned, maybe that's what turned into oil, I don't know. But these structures, traps, were created eons ago before we can even imagine. And they're huge, they're deep, they're natural gas, but they're also oil. And so these South Louisiana projects and targets that he has managed to accumulate and still is, which can be drilled with other people's money, with joint venture partners, one of them could be a company maker. So there's a lot going on for Nextbridge, but the people who stubbornly listen to Double D and keep their MMTLP will not benefit from that drilling, because all of that ownership came after the distribution of MMTLP. So it's just stupidity to listen to Double D and his acolytes and leave your MMTLP, whatever it's called, it might be called your placeholder, at your broker dealer. You will not benefit. But go ahead. I don't know if I can say it any more clearly, but I think the only person that works for free is you, him, and McCabe. Well, I make a little bit of money on from Gronk. Gronk sends me money. I make a little bit of cash here and there from the charity of people involved. So I would say that I make, I don't know if, there's nothing contractual. There's nothing particularly predictable. So, but yeah, I would say I've made money doing this, but I didn't start out doing this to make money. And I would say that what I've made has just allowed me to continue. A gentleman out there who I hope is still out there, I hope I didn't piss him off with some intemperate comment I made. He generously gave me his used computer. I'm I'm downsizing my apartment as we speak. So, to the extent that I've generously, out of other people's generosity, receive money. It's just kept me sort of in an ability to continue doing this. I wouldn't say it's for free, but I wouldn't say I'm making money either. So Ham, you'd have to ask him for sure, but I think he's in that same category. McCabe, I think is the opposite, Steve. I think McCabe, not only is McCabe working for us for free, and remember though, Steve, he's working for his own interests, which, because he's an honest man, in my judgment, are aligned with our interests. So while he seeks his own interests, he seeks ours. Fair enough. But I think McCabe is actually donating. He's actually giving to Nextbridge. For example, I can't recreate it in terms of cost. But one of those transactions in South Louisiana, one of the transactions in the Johnson something or other, he put it all together and gave it to Nextbridge. He's lent money and taken over debt, taken that risk to clean up the balance sheet vis-a-vis MMAT. I think McCabe not only is working for free, I think he's putting more and contributing and adding to our value without asking for anything in return. Yet people still shit all over him because Double D and the other acolytes want you to turn on management, not to turn on the criminals out of Burroughs Park and Germany. Look, I'm using those names to give them a name rather than just this bland criminals. They could be anywhere, but I think that's probably where they are. The only people I see working for, yeah. Why didn't he produce something, William? Why didn't he produce something? Are you talking about oil? I bet you're talking about Earl. Well, I think they didn't produce because in Texas, if you produce oil, your well is public records. So then Exxon, Chevron, the guys that stole all of your market cap over in Germany could set up a new company and they could figure out where closology is. I hate that word. And they could lease it up. So I think he kept his wells as tight holes. And that's why he didn't produce something, in my opinion. It's like he sat on it and didn't produce. Well, the production wasn't going to change your life, Pete. It wasn't going to. I don't know. I don't have something to draw on here, but it's an art, not a science. And what you're trying to create is value. I thought material things, which had so much value, they didn't have any value at all without someone to love me for me. And child, you came into my life. You made the jagged edges smooth. And just to be close to you, girl, if only for an hour. Anyway, Pete, he has 135,000 acres. He doesn't know where the sweet spots are, where it all goes for sure. The wells he drills, 25 wells or whatever, they only hold the 40 acres or the 80 acres or whatever the unit is. They only hold that. They only hold what they can drain. Is in the most likely case, they might hold 20 acres. So out of 135,000 with those 25 wells, as soon as he produces, he creates competition that maybe that holds, I don't know, 500 acres out of 35,000. He knows he has to renew his lease. He knows he has to extend his lease. He has to do that at the best price possible without creating competition for himself. Now, you want to see proof because nobody trusts him, because you listen, not you, but everybody listens to Double D as if he's the paragon of honesty and being on your side-ism. Well, if you listen to that, you get doubts. Where's the proof? And none of you know anything about oil and gas except maybe a handful. You might be one of them, Pete. But you think you know more than Greg McCabe? I know about oil and gas. 30 years. And I don't know F all compared to Greg McCabe. So I think the reason he didn't produce is he didn't want the information to be public. He did not want to create competition. He did not want to create value for other people. He wanted to create value for himself and for you. The way to do it is not produce. Keep that information tight. Renegotiate with university lands on the entire 135,000 acres at $50 an acre, whatever the hell, 5 more years. Raise money, drill up more wells. Don't produce those until you drill up enough to build your pipeline and your production facilities. Have a takeaway for your natural gas, perhaps have a takeaway from water so it can be used for other things, whether it's it's not called proppant. Anyway, whether it's used to help in fracking wells or maybe other things, I don't know, maybe just disposed of. But anyway, you build all that out. It takes a while. I'd say 3 to 5 years, maybe longer. But you do it once you control it all and you have financing, then you can let out the information. Because who cares if Double D's friends out of Burroughs Park in Germany create a company out of Canada to come down and compete with you, because you already control it. But if you want to listen to the people, the devils that make you distrust your best partner, who is Greg McCabe, that's what gets us all fighting each other, and it sinks the ship. And the guys in Borough Park, we had some fun with that one. Let's find another company. Because remember, Gary Gensler, Adina Friedman, they don't care. Ann Wagner, they don't care. I think the Oro Grande is a sea of oil. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's, and I'm going to show my ignorance. I think it's 7 targets, but I think they're all tight. So I don't think it's a case where you drill down and the oil just flows. I think you have to drill horizontally to maximize your return, 10,000 feet? I think they're drilling now, the laterals. I think that's right. Is that half a mile? I don't know. But they're drilling deep, deep, deep laterals. But I think you have to frack it. So I wouldn't characterize it as a C, but I do think the Oro Grande is an analog of the Delaware Basin and parts of the Permian. And if that's proven so, there's a lot of oil there. There's a lot of oil there. On a side note, breaks my heart. God has to tell. I don't know, Pete. I don't know what to do. He still looks at me. He still gets excited to go outside. Last night, I went to Mass and I said a prayer about it. And he jumped up during the night, which he hasn't done in quite a while. And he slept on top of me, on top of my legs. I'm not prepared for it. I'm not prepared for it. It's going to devastate me. So let's hope we can make some money before that happens, because I'll probably have to go to the insane asylum for a decade. Double D is an idiot. Had it out with him on a side chat and Messenger. Well, Pete, one of the reasons I think he's a part of it all, every single one of these guys, they love an argument. Oh my gosh, they love to debate, to argue. They focus on the issue. They know how to make it personal. Your opinions are irrational. Theirs are rational, that kind of crap. But they distract you from their overall battle plan. It's a lot like Netanyahu in whatever you want to call that area. I won't try to provoke. But as everyone debates back and forth, the key is build more houses, build more settlements. Just keep building, keep building. So there's an agenda that moves forward while the rest of the debate and arguments, hot air, emotions, that's what they do. Not what you're worth. No, I'd not yet anyway, Steve. I'm hopeful. You know, if that gold company turns out, I think I'll make, I made no cash, but I own shares. So I think that could benefit me. I'd like to, Steve, move forward from all of this. I don't like repetition. I get bored. I don't like trying to fight something that's like punching a paper bag. I mean, I'm not a good Don Quixote. So I'd like to get something going that works. And I thought a lot about it when they offered the CEO-ship of GTII to me. I thought about it for months, and I know what I will do. And then I thought I could help with logic. I think that fell on deaf ears. But that doesn't mean there won't be another chance out there. And I hope there's a group of you that might be part of that. I don't expect that it'll be big money or anything, but it would be fun to take some of the people that have been hurt and, on a successful ride, build out of a company. Anyway, we'll see. Oh, Gronk. I do it all for Gronk. Really, Pete? That's not a bad idea. Maybe I'll just do a call with Junk Savvy. I know the volatility. I'll let God pick another puppy for me. I got him. He came to me. I didn't expect it, but we'll see. I'm leaving it in God's hands because I wish, Alan, I wish I had already gotten a puppy over the last 4 years, because I think the puppy would have helped him, but I also think the puppy would have learned from him. That's a really good dog. He's gentle. He's so patient at the vet. He's good with everybody, good with kids, good with strangers, good with other dogs. He's just a blessing. But Alan, I think if I get another dog, I'll either want to be married or have a relationship, so that I can travel, or I'll get a Paris Hilton dog. No, I'm not going to do that. I don't know. Yeah, you're right, though. There's other puppies out there. Brandon, yeah, I'm here. I'd love to see you. I'm available. I don't always check all my emails, but I'll look for it. I am going to look for the 5 or 6 people that still want to invest in the gold company. When the other money comes, I'll make that request when I have a little bit of leverage. So I'll see your email. And I don't know when you're coming. I don't know where you live, but we'll go to dinner. I'd be happy with 150 a share. Look, I'm not saying it's not possible there'll be a massive payout, like a tobacco-sized, asbestos-sized payout. I'm not saying that. It's possible. It's just going to take a long time. And frankly, Pete, I think the United States is going to change so dramatically. Maybe Trump can forestall it, but I can't impress. Are you all right, boy? I can't impress upon you how massive the changes are going to be for 2 decades, I think, maybe 30 years. It's entirely possible that we will not be the world's superpower. It's entirely possible that we will not be the world's first, second, or third largest economy. It's entirely possible our dollar will be like the British pound or the euro. I don't know. Hopefully Trump can change all that, but I don't know. Waiting for a settlement involves time is risk, as one of my clients used to tell me. I used to buy into every trade I was into, and I'd tell him, you got to wait. And he told me time is risk. Time is risk. And he wasn't talking about minutes, or he's just talking about too much time. Too much of the story changes. We will have resolution. I hope so. Have you seen the doctor? Yes, and she has seen me. Idiots. It's for you. Thanks for something. Thanks for your experienced insight. I see what you see. I think most of it. Oh, and you see, I get upset about it, and I don't blame people, and I love you, Lucky, but and I get mad. I hate being trapped in this. It's just where they want me and you, spinning our wheels in this endless debate about whether it exists or doesn't exist, or that some companies deserve to be. It's all fraud. It's industrial scale theft, and they're benefiting. No wonder they want it that way. I want to break out of it. I just want to break out of it. Where do you buy silver? I would go to the two places I would recommend, although this guy, can't think of his name, this analyst, I really am starting to respect him. And his company is Miles something. But where I would go to buy silver, if you want kind of a transactional experience, which is excellent, it is excellent, would be APMEX, 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 APMEX. And I'll show it to you, Big B. This one here, APMEX. Let me make sure you can see it. Yeah, there you go. I would, the door's open. You can go out. You're a good boy. I'm here. Anyway, APMEX would be the first one I would recommend. And then let me see if I can find this other one. I would also recommend this, Gold Silver, Mike Mahoney. Now, this is very good. They don't have as much selection, but he also teaches you. There's a lot of videos. And I like this feature right here. You can buy jewelry. Here's gold and silver, gold. You can also buy crappy jewelry that just is a gold chain. But the thing is about the jewelry, you can fly out of an airport with it around your neck, and you could take $20,000, $30,000 with you as jewelry. They have vault storage, independent. Anyway, those would be my two off the top of my mind. Let me just see if I can find Miles Franklin, I think it is. I've never used Miles Franklin, but let me see if it is Miles Franklin. Yeah, that's another one, Miles Franklin. I've come to like the guy, listening to him. Those would be my places that I would buy. There's some others. There's Doc. I think he's at S&D Bullion. There's there's one that went out of business, so you got to be careful. Now, what I would buy is probably the cheapest silver, the least markup you can find if you don't have any silver. But we can talk about that another time. If your shares are AST, that's where they should be. Yeah, Stephen, I wouldn't want to be negative. If there's a fix and there's fraud and there's evidence and Ann Wagner doesn't get involved, there could be something that comes out of that. And Trump's such a guy that there might be a solution that you don't even expect. So yeah, and that's where to have them, because you have real shares. GTII is something you should write off. If you didn't take your tax losses when you could trade it, GTI is completely worthless to you. You don't know it anymore. GTII will never make money for you. You might get a chance, if you're lucky, to invest in new GTII. But I don't want to talk about GTI anymore. I think they keep selling. Yeah, you can get lost in that whole idea of blockchain. As long as derivatives are unregulated, thank you, Bill Clinton, and as long as securities laws are not enforced in Germany and elsewhere, Canada, as long as securities laws are not, it doesn't matter. Who cares if you can track it? They can track the physical quantity of gold on the COMEX. That doesn't change the fact that or silver, they trade 2 or 3 times the annual production of silver every day. It's derivatives, boy. All right, I hear what you're saying. I don't agree with you. You're saying that the market is voluntarily going to go somewhere where they can track all the trades. The tracking the trades is not the problem. It's settlement and the leverage they can get committing the crimes from Germany, Canada, and elsewhere. I don't see how blockchain stops that. How does blockchain stop hypothecation and rehypothecation and the whole endless daisy chain? But you might be smarter than I am, and I might be missing something. They dig the hole bigger. I don't want to talk about that anymore. Is China being an issue? Could be. I like this idea, infrared heated dog bed. I like that. I'll look that up. All right. I'm going to go walk my dog because he's driving me crazy. Okay, thank you. There's more. Richard said he was getting nothing. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. Richard's doing legal work for nothing? I don't believe that. But I think he's honest. I think he's honest. So I guess I can't tell you that you're wrong. And I think Richard's an honest man, so maybe he's getting nothing. Is he getting a piece of the distribution, the shares and all that? Don't get me wrong. I think he should get something. All I'm saying, Born Free, is once it's legal, it's a whole different beast and a whole different group of people getting paid, whole different group of people getting a benefit. GTII is just a shell. The short position is going to be wiped out by a reverse split, and the shell is going to be mostly consumed by the new company and the whales. And in terms of recovering cash and assets, it's 5% is going to the receiver. In terms of recovering shares, 5% is going to the receiver. And that doesn't change. And if Richard's not making anything, he's not getting a piece of that, and he's not making any hourly money, he's not, well, bless him. But it doesn't change the fact that it's no longer a financial security. It is no longer a trading security. It is no longer something that you can make a financial bet on. It is in the legal morass. And until that's cleared up, there's no way to judge its value. There's no way to judge its future value. There's nothing. Nothing. And the odds are the only way you're ever going to make money in GTII is to put money into GTII, the sequel. Well, if you're doing that, maybe you should put money into, I don't know, making up Railtown or maybe you like DJT or maybe you like Finger, whatever you want. Anyway, I've said too much. That's true. I don't know when it'll begin its run, but I wouldn't want to sit on it. I'm going to guess within 90 days, but it could be within 2 weeks. I don't know. I think it's going to be quick when it comes, and I think all the ingredients are there. I just can't. It feels like everyone's been on vacation. Christmas week, New Year's week, and now Jimmy Carter week. And this seems like they're back to work, but next week is Martin Luther King week. When do people get back to work in this country? It's been a frustrating year. Yeah, it's been a really frustrating, it's been a nerve-shattering experience for me, sir. It's been a really terrible 2.5 years for me. And it's been a really bad 5 years. And on the other hand, I'm grateful every day for much, and I'm grateful for, and it's not in our hands. So I take a lot of what happened as lessons. The reason I continued being on here is to absorb some of the confusion and the pain. But the people who did this are the criminals. Now, I think in Ham's case, he still thinks there's compliance out there that buys in. I doubt that. And there's some, so anyway, mechanically, I think some things have changed. But that's just because I've learned it over the last 2.5 years. I could be wrong. I can't think of an analogy, but it would be like working at Fort Apache, the Bronx. But that's not a good analogy. Maybe Serpico, or maybe I can't think of an example in the movies. But when you're fighting everything and you realize everyone, the mayor, the judges, your boss, maybe the enforcer, or maybe you're a good man. You're a good man, Lieutenant. You're a good man, Captain. And a good man has to know his limitations. But Kyle, we'll try to make some money. All right, Steve, thank you. I don't think, Aaron, number one, I think if you try to fix all of it at once, nobody's going to do that. I think the way to fix it with Trump is to say, if you want to make America the industrial giant it once was, the innovative giant it was once, if you want to make America's economy the best in the world, you've got to return price discovery and integrity to the all over the counter markets, including NASDAQ. That's where he should start. He should start with the companies under 10 billion, under a billion, under 5 billion. Don't pick one number, because the Burroughs Park boys will manipulate that. The lawyers are corrupt. The entire group of them are all corrupt. So what you need to do is bring back integrity to the over-the-counter markets and NASDAQ. How do you do that? No high-frequency trading, no Reg Show exemption, no selling stock you don't own. Maybe you get rid of short selling altogether. Maybe you return the over-the-counter markets and NASDAQ's markets to trading in 16ths. Maybe you've got to disclose who buys the deals. Maybe you tell the SEC to go after CEOs who sign toxic convertible notes, who sign warrant notes. If a CEO signs one of those things, the CEO is going to go to prison. Watch how quickly the CEOs stop signing those things. And then the lawyers who were hired by the CEOs have to say, you can't sign this. Bring back the uptick rule. Bring back the uptick rule. Transparency. No selling from offshore. No in the over-the-counter market and the NASDAQ. No short selling or derivative selling from offshore. Just make it an American market. And if you have to limit to American participants, so be it. So be it. And go to Burroughs Park and rip out their computers. Put one of those bastards in jail. The rest of them will run away like cockroaches in a kitchen turned on light. T+1 in the CAT system. T+1 doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. It was T+4, I guess. T+, 5-day settlement. And then it was it was 4-day, 3-day, 2-day, 1. It doesn't matter. If you're not going to enforce, settlement, that doesn't matter. Catsism should work, but Ann Wagner.
From SEC Rule 613, I want to just say,
Listen to this. This is Ann Wagner. She is the head of this committee, and she's in charge of overseeing the regulators. She says because Goldman Sachs told her, and as you listen to her, she hasn't studied this. She hasn't even pre-read this. Goldman Sachs told her that this would violate privacy. When you go in an airport, they violate your privacy. When you go to a doctor, they violate your privacy. When you use Venmo, they violate your privacy. When you use your email, they violate it. When you use your phone, they violate it. But here, it's sacrosanct.
Say that the Consolidated Audit Trail, or CAT, originated from SEC Rule 613 and was designed to reduce market volatility following the 2010 flash crash. As proposed, the CAT would be the largest securities database ever created. Think about that for a moment.
Think about that.
And the most massive government database of any kind outside of the National Security Agency, the NSA. According to former Attorney General, massive government database.
So is that bad? Is it really the most massive?
Of any kind outside of the National Security Agency, the NSA. According to former Attorney General Barr, who wrote that
what an honorable man.
Marvelous op-ed.
Oh, and it was marvelous, I bet.
He quotes, accepting this sweeping surveillance would eviscerate fundamental privacy protections.
So it's all about privacy. It's all about privacy. They're trying to protect your privacy. No, it's not. They're trying to protect the Burroughs Park boys' privacy. They're trying to protect Stevie Cohen's privacy. They're trying to protect Ari Rubenstein's privacy. They're trying to protect Jeff Easton's privacy. They're trying to protect the Anson Fund's privacy. They're trying to protect Goldman Sachs prime brokerage privacy. To steal. This woman is an idiot.
I share the Attorney General Barr's concerns, and as members of this committee have repeatedly made clear, there is a constitutionally protected interest in the confidentiality of financial transactions and personal financial information. The CAT would violate these rights by granting SEC.
That's not even true, by the way. You can count without giving the names out.
Or SRO employees access to every investor's financial transactions without any evidence of wrongdoing.
There's no
the
evidence
solution
of wrongdoing.
To this problem is simple. HR 4551 prevents the SEC from requiring an exchange, a National Securities Association, or a member of such an exchange or association to provide personally identified information with respect to the individual or reportable event. I thank the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Loudermilk, for his legislation. I urge all my colleagues to support this legislation, which ensures that everyday Americans investing in the stock market will have their privacy rights protected, and
they'll have their privacy rights protected while they're raped by the Borough Park boys. Lucky, the back door's open. What's going on? All right. Oh. No, I like those mini dachshunds. They're cute. They're good dogs. Well, I don't know anything about that place. I'll look it up. SD bullion, gold, silver, and AppMex were places I used. I tried this one other one, and I did use it, but it went out of business, and they can go out of business. So I'm just giving you the one I trust. I don't know this one, but and if you have a lot of money, I think you go to Ergon von Greiwitz's firm. Anyway, all right, I'm going to sign off. I think we went over a lot, and I'm going to go walk my dog, and then hopefully he gets more comfortable. The government does not work for the people. They work for the banks. They work for the banks. They work for the banks. Yankee Stacker. Hey, there's plenty of places out there. I just gave you the ones that I trust. If you want education and trust, I think Gold Silver. If you just want an efficient, broad marketplace, simple to understand, not too intrusive, AppMex. It's like Pale Rider. Oh, it's a YouTube. It's a YouTube channel. Okay. All right. Well, there's plenty of good YouTube channels out there. All right. This dog won't sit down, so I'm going to go walk him. I did just walk him before I started, but I'll go do it again. Peace, love, and happiness. I doubt I don't know if I'll come on tomorrow. I've got to start my regime, get my surgery on Wednesday. We'll see. I'm not going to commit to it. So anyway, I hope everyone sleeps well, and we'll catch you on down the highway.